Welcome back. This is Newslink. Now, the IEC says it's ready to hold the first registration weekend ahead of the 2024 vote. We know the 18th and 19th of November marks the first registration weekend drive. So the Commission has just concluded a media briefing. So let's just cross now to my colleague, that's Moloko Moloto, who is there for us, just to check indeed how confident he is of the state of preparedness by the IEC. Moloko, a very warm good morning to you, colleague. As we come to you, we've heard a lot of issues being attended to by Simon Mabolo in terms of staff complement, voting stations and the temporary stations amongst others. But from where they stand as the IEC, are they ready?
Your democracy, own it. Well, so says the Electoral Commission of South Africa, as they are now gearing for this weekend's voter registration. They are hoping to lure young people in the main, but also other adults who are eligible to vote but are not registered to cast their votes as the country prepares for next year's general elections. There's quite a number of people who are eligible to vote, Dumelo, but they are not registered. In terms of the number that's been given here out by the Chief Electoral Officer of the IEC, Mr. Simon Mabolo, there's about 39.7 million South Africans who are eligible to vote. However, only 26.2 million appear on the voters' roll. This represents just over 66% of the eligible voters. But let's get into more details. I'm now joined by Commissioner Janet Love of the Electoral Commission. Ma'am, thank you so much for your time. The issue of encouraging people to register and vote happens almost every election period. It's not new. What are the new methods you are employing this time around to kind of like send the message home, tell people about the importance of voting?
So I think we've been rolling out a very systematic campaign even between the last local government elections and this election, which has involved in particular young people. There have been various events that have taken place at tertiary institutions throughout the country, as well as working on an ongoing basis with the Department of Basic Education. So the impetus to involve particularly young people, because many of them are first-time voters just in terms of their age, I think there's been a very strong focus. Secondly, the increase of the Commission in its usage of social media platforms and engaging with social media, including having the online registration portal, is very much in response to the kinds of interests and demands and processes that youth in particular are employing. I think the third thing is really just to be highlighting the importance of people who are very committed to this country, very, very active, but who up until now have not seen that activism as being best pursued through the voting. They then are told, this is your country, this is your election, this is your vote. Own it.
And of course, we know South Africans are very vocal, not only on social media, all across. Do you get to understand reasons why these people will be so vocal on political issues, yet they don't register? Have you, at any given point, perhaps as the Electoral Commission, tried to commission a study to understand why people, young people in particular, are simply not interested?
There have been ongoing studies, surveys that have been carried out by various independent institutions. In particular, the Commission has had a long-standing relationship with the Human Sciences Research Council. And through that process, yes, we have been able to get some indication. And in particular, it is because there's a feeling that the change that is promised is not always a change that is delivered, that the leadership that is elected is not always fulfilling the kinds of hopes and expectations that people have. So it's much less to do with the Commission and its operations and more to do with the transformation that people want to see in this country. But that's why young people must own this election.
I have a very quick question for you. I don't have much time left. Would you encourage that South Africa perhaps consider compulsory voting, as is the case in Australia?
Well, at the moment, we don't even have compulsory registration. And our constitution is based on the idea that people must make informed choices and be volunteering to make that choice. So I'm not sure that it would change the perspective. It might see us having more spoiled votes, but I think people need to own their future. And that's really what we're calling on young people in particular, but all South Africans to do.
Thank you so much. Janet Love, a commissioner at the Electoral Commission, we thank you so much for your time. The expectation is that after this weekend registration period, once the President of the Republic, Cyril Ramaphosa, pronounces on the election date, the IEC will possibly commission or do another voter registration weekend. Dumelo.
So, absolutely. And Moloko, I did hear, of course, one of the questions even posed to Simon Mabolo, if indeed they're confident that they will get to their ideal number of getting as many South Africans, if not all, to register to vote. So perhaps a second registration weekend drive, not such a bad idea once the President has made those pronouncements of a date to ensure they give South Africans a chance again to register to vote. We leave it there, colleague, and thank you so much for bringing us this to the fore.